When the first meeting of the 8th Parliament opened, the controversial Electronic Transaction Levy Bill was taken through all the parliamentary stages under the certificate of urgency. But when the long-awaited question was put on it for passage, the minority expressed their rejection by walking out.
We will not support e-levy. Count us out of it.
The controversial e-levy was passed regardless. In the same week, the minority filed a case at the Supreme Court to challenge the legitimacy of the passage of the bill, as they had issues with the quorum during the process. In the 11th week, Speaker of Parliament Mr. Alban Bagbin referred 3 members of the House, Ms. Sarah Dwasafo, Mr. Henry Quartey and Mr. Kennedy Ejipon, to the Privileges Committee for being continuously absent without permission. The 3 had been absent for more than 15 sittings, contrary to the standing orders of the House. On the morning of June 23, the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban Bagbin, paid unannounced visits to 2 government institutions, the National Food Buffer Stock Company and the National School Feeding Program Secretariat, both in Accra. The purpose was to ascertain the reported upsurge in food prices and the issue of the National School Feeding Program caterers running out of foodstuff, as well as non-payment of monies owed them. During sitting on June 28, the Minister for Trade and Industry, Mr. Alan Trematin, told Parliament that the Commander Sugar Factory is being refurbished and expected to undergo a production test run by July ending this year 2022. On July 7, the MP for Pru East and a former Minister for Power, Dr. Kwabena Donkor, suggested that Parliament demands the resignation of the Minister for Finance. He believed that the Finance Minister could not lead the country's negotiations with the IMF, as he had on many occasions been against the country returning to the Bretton Woods institution. In the second week of July, the minority caucus in Parliament voiced their displeasure at plans by the Electoral Commission (EC) to use only the Ghana card to compile a new voters register for the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. The minority leader, Mr. Haruna Idrisu, said such a move will disenfranchise a lot of Ghanaians, since many citizens were yet to receive their Ghana cards. Later that same week, management and leadership of the NIA said about 80% of Ghanaians from age 15 and above had been successfully registered at that time. The Finance Minister explained that approval of the loan was urgently needed to avoid the country going bankrupt and also help to meet its expenditure obligations. After 2 days, the majority attempted to amend portions of the Finance Committee's report that resulted in the approval of the loan facility. This request was, however, fiercely contested by the minority side. They said the Finance Minister might have lied to the committee to influence the House into approving the loan agreement. In reaction to the presentation, the ranking member on the Finance Committee of Parliament, Dr. Kasiel Atuforsen, alleged that the central bank had printed 22 billion cedis for government to deal with inflationary pressures in the country. But the Deputy Minister for Finance, Dr. John Kuma, said the stated amount is an overdraft advanced by the bank of the government. On the first day of the third meeting, about 80 members of the majority side asked the President Nana Akufo-Addo to replace the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. The group want to continue to stay out of government-related business in the chamber until the demands were met. The action was described by many as a turning point in the democratic processes of the country. The president later, after meeting with the majority side, asked for a few more weeks till the IMF deliberations led by the Finance Minister are completed. While members of the majority side backed down on their demand, 128 members on the minority side, led by their leader, Mr. Haruna Idrisu, filed a motion on a vote of censure on Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. The movers of the motion were concerned about the cedi's depreciation and what they termed gross mismanagement of the economy. On Tuesday, November 15, a special ad hoc committee began sitting on the motion. Meanwhile, the leadership of the NPP directed all members of the majority caucus in Parliament to abstain from the vote of censure. On Tuesday, 25th October, the minority in Parliament demanded that the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, steps aside as chairman of the economic team. The group said both the Vice President and the Finance Minister have displayed their inability to handle the country's economy. On Thursday, 24th November, the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, presented the 2023 budget to Parliament. The budget highlighted the increment of the value-added tax by 2.5%, reduction of the e-levy from 1.5% to 1%, and abolition of the daily threshold of 100 Ghana cedis on transactions. We now bring you other parliamentary stories in pictures.